Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Aaliyah Picanzo, and I am the Product Marketing Specialist here at Vicon. Today's webinar will review our new NDAA-Compliant Roughneck series. It will be hosted by Bret McGowan, Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing. So we will begin shortly.
Hello, everybody. This is Bret. I'm going to welcome you to our webinar. I know that we had promoted this webinar to be hosted by Bob Germain, who's our Digital Products Manager for our IP cameras. But we got notice today that Bob, in his home, is having work done on his street, and the power is out at his house. So I'm actually going to be taking over control for it today. Sorry, I was just making sure that my screen is showing. So you're stuck with me instead of Bob. We're hoping that Bob's power comes back on a little bit later and that he can maybe answer some of the Q&A that we'll do. You'll be able to write your questions into the webinar format, and if we have time at the end, we'll address it. If we can't, we'll provide a written response to all the questions that we might get during the presentation. So before I really start, I just want to address that, I know a lot of you that are on the webinar. I've met with many of you before. I haven't been able to travel for a long time now, since last spring, due to COVID. I'm hoping that you and all your family members are doing well. I'm looking forward to getting back out in the field and being able to meet with all of you. Hopefully, with the vaccination that's starting to roll out, things will get back to normal fairly soon. So there's a lot of detail that I'm going to cover today, but really at the end of the day, there's some major takeaways I really want you to come away from this presentation with. Number one is that, this new line of Roughneck cameras is replacing all of our current IP cameras. And there's a number of reasons why that is, and I'll take you through those details. Two, they're fully NDAA compliant, which makes them viable for all government applications, which is a core reason for the change. But really, the big takeaway I want you to have with this line is that this line is not only replacing what we have, but it's far superior than what we've offered before in many different ways and respects, including a lot of certifications. And there's a big change in the market that's going on right now, and there's a bit of a vacuum happening at the lower end of the spectrum. And we really look at this change as a major opportunity for Vicon to ultimately become your camera line of choice for whatever you're using them for. Typically, we have sold our cameras to be used with our Valera systems and within our system solutions. There really wasn't a compelling reason for you to use them with other platforms. I think what you're going to find, especially at the end of this presentation, when I give you some of the last slides, that you're going to find some very compelling reasons to consider this product line across the board, for whether you're using a Vicon solution or you're actually using some of the alternatives. All right, so let's try to dig into some of the detail here. So first of all, we are talking about the Roughneck line. So now, for many of you that have been longtime Vicon customers, you're familiar with this brand of product. And the Roughneck series always kind of referred to our premier line. We only put products under the Roughneck label that were designed for our most extreme deployments. So when we started looking at the designs and the performance of this product line, we really came to the conclusion that they really fit within the Roughneck branding that Vicon has used before. So you're looking at IK10 products, you're looking at products that have extreme weather capabilities, and they're also highly compliant within the NDAA guidelines. They're listed on our GSA schedule, and they're TAA compliant. And that last line of mine there that says aggressively priced to become your camera of choice, we're going to get into those details at the end of the presentation. And for those of you that have been buying Vicon cameras before and are familiar with our pricing structure, you're going to be quite shocked at what you actually see at the end here. So before I get into those details, what I want to talk a little bit about is what's happening in the marketplace. Now, many of you are familiar with the NDAA regulations. Some of you are not. I continue to get a lot of questions about this. So I want to address it in the reasoning behind the change for Vicon. So NDAA, what does it stand for? National Defense Authorization Act, also known as the John McCain Act, signed into law in 2019. The impact of that became effective for this industry really in August of 2020. Now, the National Defense Authorization Act is a massive document covering many different things, but the clauses that impact us is called the FAR, right? So what is a FAR, F-A-R? That's the Federal Acquisition Regulation, Section 889. That's 889. So it kind of tells you how big that document is. But that particular section, as many of you know now, bans the federal government from buying product manufactured by certain Chinese-based manufacturers. Now, what's all that about? Well, the primary concern there is really the manufacturing of telecommunications equipment and then being used by secret federal governments, here in the U.S., and the concern over espionage and things of that nature. Now, this has bled into also a lot of other technology components, including the CCTV/IP video world. And you see in that second bullet item, certain specific manufacturers were banned from being able to sell to the federal government, and that is Dahua, Hikvision, and Huawei. Now, the first two names you're very familiar with typically, Dahua and Hikvision. Huawei is a little different. They don't make end-use products, but they do make components. Now, let me be very clear. Vicon does no business and has never done business with Dahua or Hikvision or Hikvision, depending on who you are and how you like to pronounce it. However, Huawei, which is a huge telecommunications Chinese company, also owns a subdivision called HiSilicon. And HiSilicon is a very big semiconductor manufacturer, one of the largest manufacturers of what's referred to as SoCs, or systems on a chip, that are used in many, many IP cameras in the world. Now, sometime back, years ago, as companies like Dahua and Hikvision leveraged the ownership of their government and the funding that they got to use predatory pricing to attack the U.S. market, a lot of manufacturers, including Vicon, looked for ways to reduce our cost, and we went to companies in China for a lot of the components. Well, we find ourselves in a situation where those components are no longer able to be used and sold into the federal government. And Vicon, quite frankly, does a lot of work for the federal government. So one of the reasons behind this whole product introduction is the fact that we must deliver to our clients a product that suits and fits the NDAA requirements. And these products achieve that. And in fact, they are significantly better than the products that we've offered before, because we are using much higher performance grade chipsets than we did before. And eventually you're going to ask me some, questions about, how are you delivering a much better product at the price points we're talking about, and I'll talk about why that is. But this is a major disruption in the video surveillance market. We've seen it already from many of our customers, and from our perspective, we see the opportunity because we know that you as resellers, and there's many resellers on this phone call, have been selling these products because you needed something that was price competitive against your competitors. And we know that that demand still exists. And we think that Vicon has an opportunity now to slide into that kind of position with you, because we are going to be highly compliant. We're going to deliver a very high performing product, and we're going to put it at a price point that suits your needs and fills that vacuum. So what am I talking about? Number one, in order for you to sell a Vicon camera product, obviously it has to be highly certified with other VMSs. Now, these products are already ONVIF certified across all of their profiles, which means that they are easily discovered. They support our analytics. They support onboard recording on your SD cards. So a lot of these VMSs or video platforms that you've been using will easily connect to our cameras. We are also working towards the final certification. So there's full-on support from these manufacturers of our cameras. All right, so let's look at a little bit of the detail on the camera lines themselves. You're going to see that we have a Roughneck line and a Roughneck Pro line. Now, many times when you start looking at a full line product like this, it can become a little bit confusing trying to figure out the differences. So let me give you the top view as to what the differences are. The Roughneck series is a highly performing, fantastic image quality product. It is GSA and NDAA compliant. It's ONVIF compliant, as we just talked about. They have all of the same discovery tools and interfaces that you would see across both the Roughneck and Roughneck Pro series. They have an IP67 and IK10 rating. They have true WDR, and they have smart IR, which is the IR that keeps it from blooming. And then you have some basic or standard analytics in the line. Now that is the line that you're going to use when you need a high quality image, fantastic frame rate reproduction, clear color reproduction. The difference between that line and the Pro series comes down into the processing and the SoC that we use in the Pro series is a little bit higher end in order to support a number of different other requirements in the marketplace. And if you look down the list on the Roughneck Pro, it's very similar to the Roughneck series until you get to some of the analytics and some of the other added items. So we're looking at adaptive IR instead of smart IR, and we're going to talk about what that means for you. It's very, very compelling. The analytics on the Roughneck Pro series is where you get into some of the more advanced AI capabilities with line crossing and object remove and object detected and loitering and things of that nature. They include the option for a Starlight low light imaging, which is phenomenal for low light. If you're using these products for any outdoor applications, you really need to consider Starlight functionality. And these products also have a lot more in terms of their inputs and outputs for audio and alarms. And finally, you'll see the difference in the temperature range. And we'll go through some of that detail as I take you through each of the products. Okay, so for the Roughneck series, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive. So remember, this is not the Roughneck Pro, this is a Roughneck standard series. And the Roughneck series itself is available in 2 and 5 megapixel. We've just found that those are the most popular in terms of volume, especially for the profile of where these products are going to be used. They are suitable for indoor and outdoor applications. The Dome and the Bullet both have a autofocus motorized lens, and they also support true WDR and smart IR. And you see on the bottom there that they have your typical mounting requirements, an adapter plate for the Dome. You don't need a back box for that, but for the Bullet, there's an adapter plate and an optional back box. Obviously, the back box would be typically used if you're running conduit on a wall. We look at the specifications for it. Ultimately, what you want to look at is a couple of things. One, the field of view on these products is expanded beyond where our current 940 series is. So, the big focus here would be looking at the wide angle field of view at 104 now, that on the 2 megapixel and 96 on the 5. That's a significant improvement over our current line. And, you're looking at some very good low light illumination under the illumination side of it at 0.04 lux for the 2 megapixel. And down at the bottom, you see the operating conditions. This is -22 to 140. Now, for a majority of the country, those conditions are fine. But, you know, if you're in the upper part of the Midwest in Minneapolis and you're trying to mount the camera on the top of a 250-foot building in the middle of winter, that product's going to freeze up. So the difference here is that the Roughneck series does not have an internal heater. The Roughneck Pros do, and therefore our operating condition run is much different. Also included in the Roughneck series is a fixed mini bullet. This product is typically used more so for indoors. It is one of our most price competitive solutions that we have for the line. Again, it's available in 2 and 5 megapixel. The fixed 2.8 millimeter lens typically is used for a lot of indoor applications. The fact that it has a true WDR and Smart IR allows you to use it in vestibules where maybe you're getting a lot of light from outdoors and things of that nature. A lot of our end users typically use this for highly populous cameras internally. Again, adapter plate and back box. And the specs are pretty good. The illumination on those is 0.07, typically what you would expect for any good indoor application whatsoever. If you're looking for something more on the outdoor side, you've got to kind of go back to the main bullet item there. And one last item within the Roughneck series is our fisheye product. Now, this is a 12 megapixel fisheye panoramic 360-degree camera. If you know anything about these products, they become very popular within the system sales. They're typically used in large vestibules. They're used in schools a lot where you have hallway intersections and you want to put a single camera in to look down all hallways. If you know anything about them, they support in-VMS dewarping. And the in-VMS dewarping is really powerful because you're recording the full resolution of the 12 megapixels and you're putting that into your storage, and you can either dewarp the live view, but you can also dewarp the playback view. And that really becomes the most valuable part of the product, is that you're recording this huge 12 megapixel stream, and then you can look at it in a quad or a 180 view. Specs on it show that we have an audio input and output, and we also have one alarm input and output on it. The operating conditions are great. And it is an IK10 product, which is always a concern for schools and things of that nature. For a vandalism component of it, these things are designed to take a beating like the others. That's why it also fits in within the Roughneck product line. All right, so what I'm going to show you here is the image quality for both the 2 and 5 megapixel, and then we're going to see some digital zooming. Now, the reality is that if you're looking at it over the internet and you're looking at it on certain monitors, it might be difficult to see the real detail between the difference in digital zoom between the 2 and 5 megapixel. And the other thing that you should consider is we recorded this image in the true 5 megapixel format, which is a square format. But those products do support the 4 megapixel format, which is very much like the 1080p 2 megapixel. So I'm going to hit the play button, and you'll see that we can do some very solid digital zooming and ultimately see a lot of detail on both of these. So if you could see my monitor, that street sign there on the left looks a little blurry. In the 5 megapixel, it's very readable. And if you see the details in the van across the street, the lines and the color separation are incredibly clear on the 5. And then as the car comes down the street, we can see a lot of detail in the car as well. So those are your 2 and 5 megapixel images in the Roughneck series. So now if we take a look at the Roughneck Pro, remember that I said that these products ultimately have a much stronger processing capabilities to support all the advanced functionality that we're looking for. Their format, their physical formats, are very similar to the Roughneck. You've got a dome and bullet series. Both are very focal autofocus products. These are really typically where you're going to use it for outdoor, cold or very hot environments. Remember I said that they have the heater installed in them. Now these products also support the Starlight illumination, and I'll show you the spec on that. And we talk about adaptive IR as well as the analytics. And you see the available mounts on the bottom. You have a pendant adapter in-ceiling mount for the bullet. Again, the back box is typically used when you are mounting it to an outside wall with a conduit. Here's the specs on them. The things that you want to bring your attention to really is that 2 megapixel Starlight 0.002 lux. That is our standard 2 megapixel product. Phenomenal low light functionality. Really, really impressive. And again, the fields of view are exceptional as well, especially in that wide angle field of view at 110 for the 2 megapixel. That's well beyond what our current line has now. Full true WDR with an adaptive IR capability, full IP67 or an IK10 rating. Now, if you look at the operating conditions, you know, it really drops down significantly. As I said, this is where you want to use a product that's going to have to deal with extreme temperature ranges. So here are the Roughneck Pro 5 and 8 megapixel. We're going to take you through kind of the same thing. Superior image quality. These things really have excellent image quality, good color reproduction, good frame rate updates, and they all are triple streaming. So, you know, you can get a lot of multiple streams when you've got them connected to a VMS. You're going to do a certain stream for your recording. You're going to do a certain stream for your live view, and, you know, ultimately what else you need. So I'm going to hit the play button here, and you'll see that we digitally zoom in both on the 5 and 8. Again, a lot of detail. I'll apologize if you can't see it in depth as we transmit over the internet, but, you know, on the left side, it's slightly blurry on the green point sign, and on the right, it's crystal clear. So that's your full digital zoom for both of those. Within the Roughneck Pro series, we also offer a Micro-Dome. Now you look at a Micro-Dome and go, well, why is that in the Pro series and not in the regular Roughneck series? Well, it's shouldering the same processor's performance that the Roughneck Pro series has, and therefore has a lot of the advanced functionality that the Roughneck Pro series supports. Now, this is a fixed lens 2.8, so you don't have the varifocal, but it really is a super low profile. So again, you're going to see an aggressive price point on this product. It has a very low profile for a lot of internal or external applications. It's got good low light capabilities. And again, it supports all those advanced signal processing features like analytics and adaptive IR. Look at the spec on these. Field of view is excellent with the 2.8 millimeter lens. And you're looking at, you know, operating conditions of -4 to 103. Obviously, most of these are used on an internal basis. Again, almost like that Roughneck mini bullet, these Micro-Domes are highly competitive in price and typically used when you need many, many cameras throughout a large facility. All right, so that's the line, the physics of the line in terms of the domes and bullets and the 360 degree unit, the hemispheric product that we offer. Again, they are taking over for our 940 and 980 series. But really what I want to show you is some of the detail in the more advanced Roughneck Pro capabilities. And the first piece that I talked about is, you know, I kind of refer to the Smart IR and Adaptive IR. Well, the Smart IR, if you've seen these before, and we've been selling products with Smart IR, have intelligently altered the IR intensity, especially based on your varifocal settings. And why does that do that? Well, because in dark environments, when you're using an IR, if somebody walks close to the camera, their face is going to reflect greatly, or you're going to get headlights from a car and it's going to bloom out the entire scene. Smart IR adjusts for that. But the picture on the right, the picture on the left that says Smart IR, it shows you that, yeah, it kind of knocks the blooming, but it really darkens the scene behind it. Where the adaptive IR actually has the ability to adjust for the blooming component of it, but also adjust for the background darkness. So you see the Roughneck Pro 2 megapixel dome has adaptive IR, and you see the details in the dark environment behind it. And you really should consider this almost like a WDR functionality, a true WDR. You've seen that before, where it takes into consideration the dark and light. Same thing for the IR itself. The signal processing is managing both the dark pixels and the light pixels, and creating a much better view for you that doesn't bloom out. So it's really a nice upgrade over the Smart IR that we've been selling. And here's a little bit of a video showing you the details between the two. On the left is the Roughneck Pro series. Obviously, you can see a lot more detail behind it. It's very clear, and you can see people amongst the boxes and everything else, and that's in one of the warehouses we have. And then Starlight is another, major improvement for us. As I said, this is a capability within our standard 2 megapixel dome and bullet in the Pro series. And this includes really a lot of signal processing. Now, you've heard probably of frame integration before. So frame integration was the way cameras provided a color image in real dark environments. The only problem with frame integration is the fact that if you had a lot of motion, because they were working with the shutter speeds, if you had any motion at all, you would get a significant blur effect. So really, most people at some point just had their camera switched to the black and white night mode with the cut filter. This product with this kind of capability is going to provide you full color image in near darkness, almost at 0 lux, with no blurring whatsoever, full 30 FPS. So let's take a look at what that might look like. So same thing here. The scene on the left and the scene on the right have the same illumination. They are, in fact, very near darkness. And it's amazing the color that you see on the right-hand side. And if you look at Aaliyah's mask that she's wearing, you can actually see it's orange. And if you were actually standing in that room at the time, you could barely even see her to begin with, no less see that she was wearing an orange mask. So low light performance on these products is really exceptional. Okay, let's take a quick look at some of the analytics. We talked about the fact that the Roughneck and Roughneck Pro, one of their separations is the fact that the standard analytics come with all of them, and the advanced analytics are in the Roughneck Pro series. So the standard analytics is stuff you've seen before. They're very pixel-oriented, motion detection, tamper detection, and defocus. So, if somebody's knocking your camera off the mount, you're going to get an alarm in any of the products that you pick. The more advanced AI-oriented ones come in the Pro series, and you see the list there. It's line crossing, loitering, area counting, intrusion, object removed, or left, and wrong direction. So I'm going to take you through a couple of examples of a few of these, not to go through all of them. We could certainly go through that at a different time with your sales reps. So let's look at any one of these. So on the left here, I'm going to play a video for the intrusion. And you see there's a green box around that door there. We're going to get an alarm as JR comes through the door. If I've hit the play button, which I haven't. Okay, there's the play button. So you're going to watch him come through. You're going to see a bounding box track him. And as he leaves the area of interest for us, the bounding box drops off. I'll play that again for you. So we have other things like line cross and loitering. You've seen line cross before. The beauty of this, again, is that it has bounding boxes and tracking. Now, before I hit the play button, you can see along the walkway, there is a green line with an arrow. And what is the hour? Well, we only want line cross detection in a particular direction. You could have it in both directions, but typically it's used to determine if somebody is going in the wrong direction somewhere, or if a car is moving the wrong direction. So we set this up to kind of show you that we can track objects as they cross the line and then provide an alarm function. I'm going to hit the play, and I'm going to show this to you more than once. So you see the car there. As soon as it hits, you get the red bounding boxes. That's the alarm indicator. Now, over to the right, if you saw it, was the truck that turned, and it picked it up. And I'm going to play it again as a potential object, but since it never crossed the line, it let it go. And the reason it picked it up is because it was tied to another incoming object. So you see a track off to the right there, and you never would get an alarm from that because it never crossed the line. So, you know, that's the power of more of the AI-based analytics that we see. And then in the loitering can be set up with an area of interest and a time. So if you have an area that's constantly getting broken into or having a lot of problems, you can see that we've created only an area of interest within the frame. So there might be other parts of the video that you're really not interested in, but if you have a particular gate or door or something like that where you're having problems, you can basically set it up. I've just hit play, and you're going to see it start to track our loiterer. And you set a time frame that they're in the scene, and then once they're there long enough, now you get an official alarm. And I'm going to show you what you do with all these analytics within our VMS, but because they're all on the profile, you can use these analytics in all the alternate VMSs. All right, so same thing here, object left behind or object removed. What we'll do is we'll show an object removed, and then we'll kind of get into some of the detail on this. So here, again, we've highlighted only a particular section of the video. Maybe there's something of interest that we have. You see that globe on the table. We're using that as an example. And we're going to have Aaliyah come into the area of interest and actually remove that globe. I don't really have to take you through, you know, why this would happen or you know, the applications for it's pretty clear. Now you see it's counting, and it says, okay, now the object's been out, and now we get ultimately an alarm off of that. All right, so what do you do with all of these analytics? That's really the key point to it. Ultimately, how do we use the analytics to alert us? Because these are, in fact, real-time analytics, and then how do we search them? So first of all, what I'm showing you on my screen is a multi-screen image within our Valerus VMS. So you have basically a quad playing. And what's going to happen is when I hit play, you're going to see that in the upper left quadrant, we are going to get an intrusion alarm. And then you're going to see that the VMS goes into an alarm mode. And we're going to see a number of things that our platform uses. But in many platforms, they typically do something of similar nature. So let's take a look at that. So watch that upper screen. He's going to walk into an area there and open the door, and that's going to create an alarm for us. So there's the alarm, and I'm going to hit pause for a minute. And you notice a couple of things. One, there's an alarm notification up here. Two, we've moved into an alarm tab. So we've actually switched from our quad view to a full view. And this can be an alarm monitor or any way that you decide to program your system in terms of a reaction to it. Now, there's a lot more that you can do with these alarm inputs. For Valerus, for instance, you can push your alarms to your phone. If you're running your Valerus application, either on your iPhone or on your Google phone or whatnot, we support your alarm pushes. So if somebody's walking around, you'll get notification on your Android phone or your iPhone that there's been an alarm, and you can look at that. So I'm going to hit play here again and continue on. You see that ultimately it stays up there. You get the bounding box on it, and you get the alarm up on top. So what do we do with that? So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a forensic search. So again, we just watched that intrusion alert come. And ultimately, what we want to see is that we can search for that event. So we're going to look for the name up here. We're going to type in intrusion. We're going to look for an intrusion event. And once we hit that intrusion event, you're going to see that we can pick the camera that we're looking for and the amount of time that we want to go back. So we're actually picking a custom search for the amount of time. If you wanted to look at it over the weekend, now I'm going to hit pause here for a minute. So if you wanted to see all of the intrusion events or all the line cross events or all the objects left behind, you can go and search those within Valerus. These are ONVIF profile events. And then you get the results that you see here, and you can play it back on any of those right within the monitor. So I'm going to hit play again so you can see what we're actually doing. You're going to see that we're going to select a particular event. So we see that he's in the area. Now on the left, I'm going to hit pause again. You see create bookmark. So what we're actually able to do is bookmark that event with our interest. We're going to title it and maybe put some details in. And that allows us to, in the future, go back and look for that event if it's really interesting to us. So those are the real fast and quick overviews of the product line itself, as well as some of the more advanced features in it. So we talked a little bit at the beginning of this about, some of the takeaways. So we're talking about a premium quality product using high-end system processing capabilities, SoCs that, quite frankly, are more expensive than what we've seen in the past, and that they are clearly NDAA compliant. They are ONVIF profile certified, and we're looking for an expansion of this product line, for your use across a number of EMSs. So how do we get there? We talked a little bit about that vacuum in the marketplace in terms of the price points. Many of you have typically been selling a upper end product and a more price aggressive product, and you've had to do that, mainly because you have competition like we all do. Now, I'll tell you that, for Vicon, who sells our systems into very high-end government, federal facilities, we sell products into correctional facilities, large school districts. These products are superior to the ones that we've ever offered before. So don't think when I show you the pricing that, they're a knockdown. They're actually a better product at pricing that we have set to try to dig into that vacuum and offer you something that's an alternative that you can continue to offer your client base. So, let's take a little quick look at the price points. And this is a quick overview of some of them. Your sales reps can provide all the detailed pricing. But if you look at that Roughneck Pro 2 megapixel, that's $481 at MSRP. That is roughly a 40% reduction in price from our original pricing of our 940 series. So you're looking at a much more advanced product with analytics, with fantastic functionality, all the way up to an 8 megapixel, and it starts at $481. If you move over to the Roughneck, the 2 megapixel dome start at $375, and we've got some products, especially the minis, that are even priced much lower than that. And again, we are looking to become that product of choice for you. We know that price is a major component of that, but we also know that the performance and functionality are there, combined with the support that a company like Vicon provides for you. Here's the chart with all of our MSRP pricing on it. And if you look at that Micro-Dome, the Roughneck Pro Micro-Dome, that V2002D at an MSRP of $288 for the 2 megapixel, that is a phenomenal price point. And all of you Vicon certified resellers know what your discounts are off of that and where that price point comes out. It's a very compelling price point with an incredible set of features and functionality. And that's really what I want to leave you with. At the end of the day, this is a departure from Vicon's typical solution sales focus. We want to drive our opportunities with you into a deeper level. We continue to focus on our system sales as our primary value point for you. You know that between Valerus and these new cameras, our access control and our servers, it's an unbeatable combination. But you know, for yourselves that have many other customers that have maybe ultimately selected a different platform, these cameras can be a great add for you, especially at the price points, and keep you competitive. All right, Aaliyah, did we have any questions?
Hey, so we actually have a few questions that came in. Let me go through them now. But as I go through them, thank you for that wonderful webinar. Okay, first question. Didn't see PTZs in the lineup. Can we expect NDAA-compliant PTZs to be available soon?
Yeah, so that is a great question. You know, we have the products that you just saw here available now. By the way, these products actually are shipping physically for us. Our NDAA PTZ product line is coming right after the first of the year. We're going to be introducing a 2 and 5 megapixel PTZ series underneath the Roughneck brand. So we're looking forward to that within a very short time frame.
Okay, great. And just a reminder, if anybody listening has any questions, feel free to send them in now. We just have a few more minutes for this webinar, but we will be sending out a PDF along with a recording of this webinar after the presentation. So if we don't get to it today, we will definitely send it out. But the next question is, do you have to purchase analytic rules separately, or do all analytics come out of the box?
So all the analytics that I showed you, whether they were in the Roughneck or Roughneck Pro series, come with those products without any additional licensing. So all the advanced analytics in the Roughneck Pro series come with the product. No special licensing required, and they are supported by both our Valerus VMS and obviously all the other certified VMSs without any additional pricing.
Okay, great. The next question is, does Starlight come with all of the cameras, or do we have to pay more?
So the Starlight right now is in the 2 megapixel Roughneck Pro series, and there's no additional cost to that. We are looking towards optimizing the 5 and the 8 megapixel within that range to also offer that. So that's some engineering work being done right now. You know, hopefully we'll see an update after the first of the year for those as well.
Okay, great.
All right, so that's probably it, right? So I know we're running out of time here. We're at the 45-minute mark. So Leah, why don't we, you know, if we have any more questions, why don't we provide them in written format to the attendees, you know, after the webinar ends here.
For sure, that sounds awesome. So, well, that concludes the webinar. Thank you, Bret, for hosting it today. That was really informative. If you have any questions, once again, as I'm talking, you can put them in. There's a short survey at the end of this webinar, and should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us.
All right, thanks, everybody, and hopefully I get to see you all soon.
Great, thank you, Bret. Everyone have a great evening.
Thanks, Leah.